There you go.
Hello. Hi, everybody. We are just a little bit late. I'm sending my beautiful slides to Victor.
Hello, dear everybody. So nice to be here again and to see so many messages even before we start. Oh my, excited.
Yeah, so excited.
So I can see some familiar names here. Marian, as usual. Hey, Marian. Pablo, hey dear buddy, Deborah. So it's so nice to
From
see so
Costa
many
Rica.
people here.
Wow.
Yeah, from
Yeah, so
from
many
all over
places.
the
Thank you
place.
guys. Thank you for coming. Oh, I'm going to cover. Someone's asking about Portuguese. I am going to cover that today. We have I just took the A2 Portuguese language test, the official test, and I just passed it earlier this month. So yay, can tell you about that as well. Um, but yeah, shall I
Exciting.
tell everybody about a little bit about myself, Victor? Should we start like that?
Yeah. So, first of all, I really want to thank you, Becky, for being here and to share your story with all of us. Yesterday, me and you, we had a quick chat, and I was amazed by everything you've gone through during this relocation process. I guess people will love to hear your story, your tips. And just before we start, just a quick introduction here. I guess most of you um, already know me. So I'm Victor, and we are having this webinar with Becky, as we thought it would be really good to hear from someone who has gone through the relocation process. So, practice uh, tips from someone who has gone through the process, who is American and has such a beautiful story to share with us. Uh, I myself, as you know, I did move to Portugal 8 years ago. So maybe I can also share one or two uh, things while you do your talking, Becky. But I'll let you, of course, share your story. You are the star today, and
Oh, oh, go ahead, Victor. Anything else you want to add?
no, I was just saying that I'm on the back office now trying to put our slides into a format that we can share with everyone. So while you introduced yourself, I'm here doing the those back office things here from my end.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I sent Victor a really big file. We had trouble uploading it, so he's getting that ready now because I first of all, thank you all for coming again. My name is Becky Gillespie, and I am the editor-in-chief at Portugal.com. So we write a lot of stories about traveling to Portugal, the culture of Portugal, and a lot of history. I've learned a lot about famous people from Portugal through this job, and we encourage you to check out our articles. We think they'll help you quite a bit, but also we partnered with Viv Europe to help you try to move to Portugal. So that's how Victor and I first met. I am originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. If anybody in the chat is from Ohio, hello, special hello to you. But I actually have a bit of a strange story about how I got to Portugal because I didn't move straight from the US. I actually moved to Tokyo, Japan when I was 22 years old. And that's where I first was an expat. So I did that through getting a job as an English teacher. So they set me up in Tokyo when I was 22. I had just left America for the first time, you know. And then I lived there for 12 years and got permanent residency there in 2015, all on my own. So am familiar with bureaucracy. And I still have permanent residency in Japan. But when I was like about 12 years into that, I had felt like I had traveled through most of Asia. I had seen a lot of Asia while being based there, and I wanted to be based in a different part of the world. And I just wanted to experience a different culture. And so I first, after leaving Tokyo, became a digital nomad for a couple of years. But during the pandemic, I really thought I needed a base again, and I wanted a base. It had been almost 3 years as a nomad. While I was a nomad, I met a Portuguese couple while I was hiking in Colombia, and I wanted to visit them. I'd never been to Portugal. So I first went to Portugal in 2018, and then I had gone back again in 2019, visited my friends there again, and went to Madeira for the first time, which is a really beautiful place if you're thinking about moving to Madeira. And in 2020, I actually went to Portugal from Tokyo. I signed a lot of forms to say that I was not to blame. I couldn't blame the airline for getting out of Tokyo. There were actually only 3 flights a day leaving Tokyo at that time because it was July of 2020. But Portugal was open for like a really brief period of time to travelers, and I got in, and then they told me you have to leave Portugal and you have to apply for your D7 visa from your home country, which for me was actually the US, right? I'm from the US. So in the middle of the pandemic, I had to fly to the US and work with VFS to get the D7 visa. But by that time, I was determined, and that's what I did. I went back to the US. VFS. I went through the DC consulate, which at the time did not require an appointment. I don't know if they would have even required one during the pandemic anyway. But I moved in December of 2020 to Lisbon, and I bought a 1 bedroom apartment in Lisbon. Thank you, Victor. Here it is, the whole story. Um, I bought, I bought, I bought an apartment in Lisbon in 2021. And yeah, if you're wondering, I am on the NHR scheme, which is no longer available for new people moving here. But my accountant that I use every year, he told me that actually he compares the NHR scheme with like the current progressive tax rates, and he's like, you don't even benefit from the NHR based on what you're making. It's no better to be on that rate. So that if people are thinking it's really much better for NHR versus not, that's not always the case. And because I applied for the D7 in 2020, there was no digital nomad visa at the time. So I have always been working as a freelancer, even though I'm on a visa that's called passive income. So I'm actively working, but because I'm a freelancer, there's some other things I have to do every month related to like reporting my income that I'm going to share with you on the next slide. But yeah, I started working for Portugal.com in September of 2023. And I took the language test this year, as I just told you guys before. So that's kind of my story. Just also to let you know, I have never had a car in Lisbon. So I'm going to direct Victor to the car questions when we get to them, because we had a chat about that. And I also don't have any children, so I'm not really I'm not an expert on questions about schools, but we do have some articles on Portugal.com about that. And we're happy to try to answer your questions related to schooling and bringing your children here. Some of you, one other note before we move on to things that you should remember when you move to Portugal is that you may have heard that, Portugal is considering extending the visa time to citizenship, the time to citizenship from 5 years to 10 years. This literally was announced like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. But nothing has been made into law yet. It's just in the parliament and they're talking about it. They're kind of making some revisions. So I hope to apply for citizenship at the end of this year, because that would be my 5 years is in December, but I don't know. But I think that basically, if you're thinking of leaving the US and having a second place to live, or you're moving to Portugal, Portugal is still one of the easiest countries to get your D7 visa, get a visa. The D7 in particular, I think, is D7 or D8 for the digital nomad at this point is quite easy to get. And Portugal is such a nice place to live that I think this shouldn't really deter you, because now Portugal, if they switch to 10 years, is more in line with like the other countries in Europe in terms of time to citizenship. But we'll see what happens. We're hoping that there's some sweetheart deal that gets made, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know, Victor, if you've heard about it, anything with that yet, but yeah.
Y- Yeah, I'm also waiting for some news. We know that I agree with you, Becky, that change may should not impact your, I mean, you're like willing to move to Portugal if you are aiming to live here. You know, when I moved to Portugal, it was 8 years ago. I was kind of afraid because back then Portugal was such a different country. You know, it was not that popular as we as nowadays. So I was really scared. But I've never like regret the fact that me and my wife, we decided to move because if you are aiming to live here, Becky will share her story, but from my perspective, it was the best decision that I've taken. Coming from Brazil, it's in the. I mean, it's still a very safe country. There is still like bright blue skies almost every day. So it's the same country. It's just some small rules they have changed, as Becky mentioned, just to stay in line with other countries. And so I will let you go ahead, Becky. But just so everybody knows, you feel free to type your questions while we speak here. We'll try to make it as interactive as possible, as this is supposed to be more like a friendly conversation. So just go ahead, type your comments. We will try our best to interact with you. I just like Becky, I don't have kids, so maybe I'm not the best person to ask questions related to kids here in Portugal. I do have many friends who have, so but I'll try my best to help you out, guys, with the knowledge that I have.
Okay, so I want to answer Rabina's question first. She's asking about housing. She says, "Isn't that the first step for the visa process?" Yes, I wouldn't say it's the first step necessarily, but it's an important step that you're going to need before you can apply. And now Portugal's requiring 12 months of a lease minimum for your housing. So a lot of people are contacting agencies in Lisbon or Porto or wherever you're deciding that you want to live and kind of getting an agreement going. From what I understand, you can cut that, like once you get to Portugal, you can cut that lease. I think you only have to actually fulfill like a third of your contract before you can get out of it. I mean, it depends on your contract, but it's as you may understand, they do want you to have proof that you have a plan and a place to live when you get there. And we do have some housing issues, so I guess that's why they're also asking that. So if I hope that answers your question, Rubina. And then Belle was asking about, there's something on this slide I didn't mention, which is I had my first surgery in Portugal in September 2023. I am going to talk about the private healthcare in a moment. I have private healthcare, and I got that actually 2 years after moving to Portugal, but that was partly because of the pandemic that I waited that long. However, I would suggest it be one of the first things that you apply for when you actually arrive in Portugal, because the private healthcare system, it takes 2 months to start being covered like under it once you've signed up. So that you're going to pay like 2 months of premiums and not be able to use the service yet. So it's good to do that early on. And then I paid 500 euros out of pocket for my surgery. I had a benign tumor, thankfully, removed, and I also have endometriosis, so it was related to that. And it's something, of course, that's an ongoing condition. So I will actually go to the next. Can you go to the next slide, Victor? Because
Yeah, so yeah, I guess you cannot let me.
yeah,
Okay, here
th-
I can. You,
this
you
is
you
this
can
is
just let me know to when you want to go to the next line.
Okay, okay. So at the top of this slide, I talk about the private health insurance. I am on this with this company called Medish, which is a very like big national private health insurance provider. But I would sign up for another one. If I could do it again, I would sign up for what's called Multicare, which is another company. I say that because when I was having my surgery, we had kind of a last minute issue with one of the doctors being covered. And I just kind of asked the guy on the phone who was doing the claims at the hospital. I said, like, what is your favorite, or who do you think is the best? And he said Multicare has less like delays. Everything turned out fine. I only paid 500 euros out of pocket. The surgery went really well, but this is one thing I kind of learned in the heat of the moment, shall we say. And it's because the doctor was trying to add another doctor kind of at the last minute, so they just didn't have time when the surgery date was approaching to like get that covered. And I was like, well, you got to go forward with this, you know. And luckily, it all turned out okay. But that is what I would tell you about the private healthcare. The public is free. The public is here, but the wait times are longer. I typically wait between 30 minutes and an hour when I already have my appointment at the private hospitals, which I don't think is that long. It's been really nice. You can do everything on an app that is related to the clinic. I'm really fortunate. My apartment is a 10-minute walk from a major hospital, a major private hospital. So actually, that's where I had my surgery, and I walked home. They told me not to, but I walked home from the hospital. So thankfully, that all went well. Um, and yeah, oh, okay. I'm looking at some of your questions here. A lot of questions coming in. Um, Oh, is the IMA appointment scary? I was scared, to be honest. It was not IMA when I had my appointment. It was Ceph. But in the end, it turned out to be no problem. I got a bit scared because at the time I brought a translator with me, and they said you can't bring your translator in. But we were able to speak English, and we were able to understand each other anyway. And they just asked to see like 3 documents proving that I was earning income or something. But I've heard that these appointments are really different. Like sometimes they want one document, they want another. It really depends on the person that you're seeing. So, and the digital nomad visa is, like I was mentioning before, it is still available. It can still lead to your ability to apply for citizenship as long as you keep getting it renewed. At the moment, it's 5 years, but it may become 10, and we don't know if it's going to be retroactive. I see that's another question. Yeah, Valerie's saying that the visa requirements change frequently. Um, Usually in the past, things have been grandfathered, but this time they mentioned something about it possibly being retroactive, and that's where people started getting really worried. So we're kind of I've signed a petition myself to allow people to be grandfathered in that have already, you know, entered Portugal from a certain time. We don't know what that date or what that cutoff date is going to be, but I don't think there's a risk of being kicked out. I really don't think that that's going to happen.
And on
That's
this
another
topic,
question.
Becky,
Yeah.
I've been talking to lawyers lately because, as you mentioned, people are really scared that they will have to face this new rule. They usually say that there are grounds for kind of an appeal or kind of sending notice to IMA to consider their situation, especially when they chose Portugal based on the 5 years time frame. But yeah, we're still in this grayish area, waiting to receive any kind of guidelines. So yeah, it's unfortunate. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few questions here about things being retroactive. I would say we're just gonna like, and also when are they considering like your time starting? I was told recently by a lawyer that I just randomly contacted that it would be the time of my temporary visa, the date that was in my passport. But that was a rule they made a couple of years ago to, I think, account for people who are waiting a really long time for their actual IMA appointments or at CEF at that time. So I think that's fair, and I hope that that's what stays as the rule. But we hope that nothing happens retroactively. So we'll see on that. And then somebody's asking about the tax accountants. So I got my tax accountant personally through a friend that was already here, a fellow digital nomad at that time. I have to say, I don't really like my tax accountant because I have to push him. I guess he's just very busy, but like I have to push him as the deadline. The deadline for the tax return every year is June 30th. And you know, it's kind of summer, right? It's like, hey. So I had to push him, but he's always done it on time. I just get nervous about him forgetting me.
Is he Portuguese, Becky?
He is Portuguese, Victor. Yeah.
Okay, no, just as curiosity.
Victor, do you have any tax recommendations you can give, like for a provider that you yourself would use? I don't know if you have a connection or
I
a partnership.
I Yeah, I do have one accountant that and he has been helping me with taxes and also with some of our clients. And I mean, providing services to expats is very. It's not the same as providing services to Portuguese citizens. And when you work with a Portuguese professional, he or she normally is used to work for Portuguese clients, and there is a need for some adaptation to understand that usually expats are a little bit more anxious because everything's new for them. So, and when they see a deadline, oh my, it becomes kind of a life or death situation. So, and I agree with you on that. I do have a friend who is an accountant. If you want to, I can share with you his email, and then you can get in touch directly to him. I'll post here as a comment his email.
If you like him, Victor, I would go with this recommendation, guys, because I feel like I'm staying with mine as like legacy at this point, and I will probably try to switch, but it was okay this year. It's just getting like he's charging me, I think it was about 275 euros for my tax return, which was almost as much as I paid the US tax guy. So I also, of course, have to file US taxes. And so, yeah, that's unfortunate that Americans have to always file their taxes abroad. But yeah, it's something that we have to keep in mind. And just so if you're wondering, my US tax guy is not a Portuguese tax expert, and neither is my Portuguese tax guy, but it's worked out. It's been okay so far, but my taxes aren't really that complicated compared to what some of you might be bringing over. So I haven't worked with them directly, but also I've heard of like Fresh Tax is another one that I've heard may have some US expertise as well. They're a little more on the expensive side, but yeah. Oh, we have a lot of questions coming here. So, Nobu Banku, I'm not sure. I have this, well, we call it CGD, but it's Caixa Geral de Depósitos. I started with Activo Bank, which I found to be pretty easy to work with, but then I was required to switch, well, to use CGD because I got my mortgage through the CGD bank. They're actually pretty good with like giving mortgages to lots of different people, and they're pretty flexible. So I've had to use them, but they're the oldest bank in Portugal. And so sometimes they're like they have an app, it works, but I didn't really get a choice in that matter. So maybe you can maybe look into Activo if you have any luck. But if you already have a Novo Banco account, if there's anybody you know in Portugal or there's a way to contact somebody who's already here, if it's not working through the app, that's all I could really say about that. Okay, I'm
Also,
looking at more
back
of
on
these.
this point,
Oh
in
yeah,
regards to banks in Portugal, just sorry to interrupt you very quickly.
please do.
Uh, un- Unfortunately, we've been trying to work with Activo Bank with some of our clients, and they just don't. I mean, we've been trying hard. They just don't accept to open bank a kind of rule there. But nowadays, it's really, really hard to work with them, and not only them, even other banks. They it's hard when you are here. It's even harder when you're not here. So so we've been having some success with Novo Banco. But I know it's I mean it's banks in Portugal overall. It is a challenge to work with them.
Yeah, I found at the beginning, like I said, Activo, it was easy for me to sign up with them when I needed any kind of bank account. But now it's, as I said, I have the second one with CGD. And once you get a mortgage with the bank, they're kind of happy to help you a little bit more, right?
Yeah,
So it was a little easier after that.
for
But
sure.
um, also, there's a question. I don't know if you would know the answer to this, Victor, because I know some things have changed since I did it. Do I still need to provide an apostille verifying my birth certificate from my home US state of birth?
Yes, you will need
Okay.
to apostille your marriage certificate. If you're bringing, if you're of course if you're married, the birth certificate for the kids and the FBI, the criminal clearance certificate. Those are the three documents that need to be apostilled, and they will really want to look for them when you apply for the visa. I know it can be challenging to apostille documents. It's such a bureaucratic process, even in America. But I mean, it is what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Just to go into a little bit more of this slide while I'm thinking about it. So we talked about some tax providers or getting like figuring out what you're going to do with that. Also, like if I don't know if any of you are going to be freelancers, like working for companies abroad while you're living in Portugal, which is what I do, but I need to report my income essentially every month. I have to input it into this what's called Finanças, which is like the financial government website of Portugal. So I do that every month. And then I also have to kind of add up a 3 month period of that same income and put it into this VAT form. And it's different if they're from a company based in Europe versus outside of Europe. So if it's in Europe, you have to pay VAT. If it's not in Europe, you don't. And then there's also a 3 month like input that I have to do for the Social Security side of things to calculate how much I have to pay for Social Security. So the first year, like if, as a freelancer, the first year you're in Portugal, you are exempt from paying Social Security. And maybe some of you will be continuing to pay Social Security to the US and you might be exempt in Portugal. But for my case, I had a choice and I decided I wanted to pay it in Portugal because this is where I live now. And so I don't pay it in the US, but I don't double pay. And so I have to do these inputs every 3 months in the Social Security website of Portugal, which is this seg-social.pt. And it changes every 3 months, this amount that I'm paying, and it's 11.1% of your income, of that 3 month income, roughly. So the first year I was like, woo, this is not so bad. And then like, I was paying, I had 11.1% more of expenses. Like after the first year, I was like, okay, I wish I knew this before I came, just so I would be aware to prepare for the payments. But that's been something, once I got used to it, it's now just easy. I have a bunch of reminders set up in my phone. My accountant offers a service where you can pay, I think he's charging 40 euros a month to like do all of that for you and always be up to date. So you don't have to do it yourself. But I used to do taxes for a living for 4 years. So I like kind of get a little nerdy about this more than some people. And I wanted to be independent, but yeah, so that's something to think about too. And once you sign up for your Social Security number, that which is called the NIS, not to be confused with the NIF, which I know everybody has heard about when you're thinking about a visa, the NIF. This is the NISS. Once you get that, you can sign up for your European health insurance card, the EHIC, which you do through the Social Security website. And that will get you the free public health care or a discounted health care should you have an accident or something unexpected happen to you in 31 different countries in Europe. And it's the 27 countries, I think, in the EU. And it also includes the UK, Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. So you've got a lot of different, that's a great thing to have. And it's free to sign up and it comes in the mail in like 5 to 10 business days. But you have to do it. You have to click, you have to order it. So don't want you to forget that. The other thing I had to do when I first arrived was go, because I live in Lisbon, I don't have a car. So I wanted to take advantage of the public transport. And if you're a resident in Lisbon with a NIF, you can go into the public transport office. In Lisbon, it's called Queiroz, and you pay like 14 euros and they'll give it to you right away. It's good for 7 years, this like personalized public transport card with your name and your picture. And it helps you get, like, if you're my age, so if you're 65 and over, it's free, or if you're 22 or 23 and under and you can show that you're a student, it's free. But for someone like me, it's 40 euros a month, and that covers basically everything. It includes Sintra, Cascais, like it's a huge wide area, but it's 30 euros a month if you get like only central Lisbon. But it's so nice and easy. I have to just top it up every month and pay, for that next month if I'm in the country. If you're not in the country, just don't pay that month. And then yeah, but it's really nice to have this like automatic card. So please do that after you move. I think Porto has the same. It's just a different, like it's called Navigante in Lisbon. Now they've changed the name. It used to be called Viva Lisboa, but in Porto, I don't know the name of this card, but the same concept is there. So
And I
yeah.
guess you can take all of the transport system, meaning the bus, the metro, the train, or is that not the case?
It's everything. It includes the ferry in Lisbon, the ferries, it also includes the metro and all the buses as well. And even the like the overland trains, I would call them, like the one that goes to Cascais. So it's really great. It makes things really easy.
Let me
So,
move to the next
somebody
one.
is
There you go.
asking about medications. Yeah, thank you for changing the slide, but I'll check some of these questions now as well. How is it getting medications that you are on in the US? I have to apologize, Glenn. I didn't have any medications I was already taking in the US because I was in Japan for so long and not based there. So I myself can't really tell you. I do know that it's been easy to work with the Portuguese pharmacies, and they even have 24-hour pharmacies in a few different places in the city, which you can check on a website. And I think what I might do though, just as a fail safe, is like try to get a big batch of those medicines from the US before you move over here, and then maybe make a trip once a year to the US, top it up, or try to do your best with that. Some things from the US, I don't really like working with customs here. So I sometimes ask friends that are coming to see me or coming from the US, like, can you just bring this thing I ordered from Amazon in your suitcase? Because it cuts a lot of red tape. The customs is something I don't really like here. Ordering something from the US to Portugal can sometimes get caught in customs, and you pay like, 20 or 30 euros to receive something that you don't think you should even have to pay anything on. But that's one thing I've been found a frustration with. Hopefully that's not the case with your medications.
Yeah, I know that
And then,
in regards to
oh,
Brazil, Becky,
yeah.
they don't accept Brazilian prescriptions, so they want us to go through their healthcare system. So yeah, maybe with in regards to American, it should be something similar. It's not easy to get those medications here if the prescription comes from other countries.
Yeah, I would see if there's a way you can work still with your doctor in the US to like get it filled in the
Yeah.
US and just bring it over. But there is quite a lot of medication available here, so it depends on what it is. And it's cheaper. The medication is certainly cheaper here in most cases. Um, and then the US dollar has been tanking. Oh, yeah, I get paid in one of my clients pays me in US dollars. I know. Oh, you need to transfer funds for the D7 appointment. Any recommendations on the best time? I wish I knew. I do think if you have a Wise account or maybe Revolut US, and there's a way for you to use, because I think Revolut and Wise have some of the best exchange rates. That's one thing I would try to recommend you do. Or if you have I don't know, a really nice friend that somehow needs your dollars and they'll give you euros at like a friendly rate. I've done that in Japan. When I visit Japan, sometimes my friends will sell me yen because they are Americans living in Japan, and they will like say, "Oh, I'll just keep the dollars for later." Anyway, you can do this. Depends on how much money you're trying to transfer, of course. Um, and yes, the EHIC card. Victor, I'm not sure if you could help me with this. We already have one issued in the UK. Will that be valid, or do we need to apply in Portugal as well? Um, I think it would still be valid if you're in a different country. But in Portugal, I mean, when you're a resident, you're going to be covered by the public without the EHIC. But I think your UK card should work still.
Yeah,
However, yeah, I would say go
that
ahead and
that's the
apply for the
case,
one in
Becky.
Portugal. Yeah.
Usually they would work. There is an agreement between European countries, so you can use their local healthcare. So I don't know. I don't really know if there's some sort of a, a period where where you can use the public healthcare here in Portugal coming from UK. But I know that for if you by any chance you are traveling here in Portugal and you need an emergency assistance, you can just go to the public hospital and they will you'll be going to a local physician to help you.
Okay. Yeah. There's always there's always a way, but it would be easy, yeah, to apply for the new card in Portugal once you
Oh
switch
yeah.
your address and sign up. Also have a question about for Marissa. This is like making me think about my situation. I do not have passive income as I'm building my online business, but I do have substantial savings to support myself for at least 3 to 5 years. Is a D7 possible? I talked about this with you yesterday, Victor. I think she might be considered on the D8 digital nomad visa
Yeah.
at this point, but that's still she should still have no problem, I think, getting
Yeah,
on
I
that visa,
remember
or
Becky
maybe
when
D7.
we
Yeah.
yeah the I mean I know that in the past it was really easy for people to apply for the D7 because it I mean not only passive income was considered but also savings. So it was like an umbrella type of visa where if you had income, you would usually apply for the D7, no matter the type of income. But nowadays, with the digital nomad visa, the rules are a little bit more strict. So if and they don't consider savings as passive income nowadays. So if you have a business, um, you can prove that you have a professional activity, and then maybe the D8 will be the best choice. And I mean, there's also the possibility for you to bring the business to Portugal and apply for the business visa here. There are options. But unfortunately, savings are not considered type of passive income nowadays. That's for sure.
Also, Marissa, I'm not sure if you have this business. I don't know if you have enough income yet for the D8, but you could perhaps start paying yourself if you have a business set up and you're getting this income that is like above that limit they're looking for, but it's coming from your savings essentially. So there might be ways to structure this where it could work out. Um, Hope that answers your question. Robert's asking, is there an age limit for multi-care? I just Googled this while I was after I read your question, Robert. I think there is a multi-care 60 plus um, version that says it has no age limit. So there's different categories within multi-care. And then Rubina Victor, she's asking, can you send resources for tax accountants and lawyers? I don't know if you want to do that in the chat or the best way we
Yeah,
can do
I
that,
will.
but
I will just pin uh my a comment here. Let me see here. Yeah, so it's so you can, if you need any assistance from professionals here in Portugal, you can just email me and I will put you in touch with the professional.
okay. And then what Todd's asking, does the local tax accountant work with the US based accountant? In my case, no. You're interested in the D8. But there's not that many of them, but there are some accountants based in Portugal that have like a deep US tax knowledge. and they may be able to help you with both. I think fresh tax was one of them that I recalled. I've just been happy with, well, I've been happy with my US tax accountant, and then the Portugal side. As I said, mine aren't that complicated, so I've been able to figure it out. But um, yeah, I would start looking for somebody based in Portugal with the US tax expertise. Um, and then let's see. Oh, good. We are recording. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Todd, for answering about the CGD Bank. Um, Let me take a moment and just talk about what I have here in the slide. So I'll just tell you that when I studied for the A2 Portuguese language test, I did 3 weeks of intensive 20 hours a week, like group class learning last year. But I was finding it hard to do that and balance working, so working online. So I only did 3 weeks, and I kind of found that for me, I wasn't speaking enough, which was my hardest. It was like that's my biggest struggle is speaking. So I decided to go and do things myself because a friend of mine had done the same and she kind of inspired me. So I went on preply.com, and I had to go through a few teachers before I found the one that fit me the best. But you can choose which country your teacher is from. So that's how I was able to focus on European Portuguese. And I found a teacher from Porto. She was fantastic. She gave me homework every night, or every class, which you should insist that they do. And then I also got the Practice Portuguese app, which I think is one of the best resources you can use. It's $23 a month, I think, for the paid version, which has a lot of resources. I mean, do not use Duolingo if you want to like improve. They don't even have European Portuguese anyway. So Practice Portuguese is European Portuguese. And the other one might be Portuguese Lab Academy, which is like a paid like $35 to $40 a month. And it's more just like resources that are in a database. But I bought some books as well to help me start studying that was like test prep for A2 from the local bookstore here, and that really helped too. If you want to buy a property in Portugal, start sooner rather than later once you get here. I would also wait till you get here to buy as well, instead of buying like through a realtor while you're still abroad, because you really don't know what is going to be hiding in that property, or what, we all need to see what's going on with our own eyes. Um, and I say you will save a lot in the end, but what I mean by that is like some of my friends bought within the last year because they said they were just paying such high rent in Lisbon that they thought, yeah, I want to pay less every month. But I don't think they're really taking into account the down payment that is a lot of money to put down, right? So I'm not sure if they did the math. It might just psychologically feel cheaper, but the rates are still, I
Oh,
can't tell you the current rate, interest rates for these loans, but I think they're still pretty good compared to the US. I don't know if you're aware, Victor, of that, but um, I got
yeah, I
in
guess.
at a good rate
uh,
in 2021.
Yeah,
I was lucky
me
with that.
too. I bought a property like 2 years ago, and the rates were pretty good. I don't know the situation nowadays, but at that time, and I did a comparison with Brazil's situation, the rates in Brazil, and I remember it was really really good. And I did my own. It was in BPI, the bank.
Okay, yeah, as I was saying, I had to go with CGD, but it was what was shocking to me is that like coming from my experience in Japan, where they don't really give out mortgages to foreigners unless you are a permanent resident who can show they've been, working for a Japan-based company and they have this money if you're getting a mortgage. In Portugal, it really did feel pretty easy. I was like, you're just giving me a mortgage? Like I had only gotten my residence card in August of 2021 because it took so long with the pandemic, but I had already signed and been approved for a mortgage in May of 2021, and I paid 10% of the purchase price of the property in a document called the CPCV. This is very standard when you buy a property here. It's like usually 3 or 4 months before you actually sign the mortgage, you will pay this 10% and sign, and that lets the seller feel that you really are committed, that you are going to buy this house. And I was shocked. I was like, I don't even have a residence card yet, and they're giving me a mortgage. So consider that when you're like, should I buy property in Portugal or not? It's like, that's a pretty sweet, generous thing that Portugal is still doing, I think. Also,
I agree.
I got unlucky, guys. I will say, I will say, but it's temporarily unlucky, I hope. I didn't know much about the neighbors in my building when I bought my apartment. And if you can, try to meet these people or try to visit at different times of the day because you never know who might be in the building and those people could be hard to deal with. My neighbors are a bit difficult. They're just loud, and I've had to chat with them several times, and I don't know, I don't know how if like how long they are tenants in the building, so you never know um, how long they'll be here. But that would I may have made a different choice if I'd known how loud they are. So please don't make the same mistake that I did. I was kind of duped by my real estate agent. He told me it's a love you have a very nice elderly Portuguese couple that live above you, and they are in their 70s, but they're noisier than a 20-year-old, like 20-year-olds with kids. Honestly, it was shocking, but I've learned to live with it.
But
It's
not,
like
not
you
noisy
get more
partying.
relaxed. It's
Not,
so one of my the neighbor absolutely loves to sing, but he can't sing well.
okay.
And they also fight with each other. I the singing is okay. It's the fighting that I feel sad about. So I hope that things get better for them. But yeah.
I mean, probably they've been living together for for a while.
Well, yeah, it's she I met them the first day. The wife told me, "It's my second husband." I'm like, "Okay." So they're very colorful characters in my building. It's very funny. So yeah, that's the last thing. And then I think, can you go to the
Okay,
next
of course.
slide? I think there's one more thing. Oh, yes, yes,
Okay.
this is very important. I want to give time to this because this is something that people kind of worry about or they're not sure about once they move to Portugal, and that is community. You got to make new community when you move to Portugal. So meetup.com is a great resource in the bigger cities. Facebook groups, of course, and then Google your interests in that place where you are and see what you can find. For example, if you love running, running Lisbon, there's actually a really big running community in Lisbon, and it's kind of unique because there's not so many places to run in Lisbon due to the calçada portuguesa, which is the tile, like the cobblestone streets. So because people are running in smaller areas, they get to meet each other much better. So that was something interesting I found when I joined that community. And I say here that, when you think of Portugal, you think of the sea, right? So sailing, golfing along the coast, wine, dancing, and surfing. Like this is what Portugal has a lot of. There's a really big Kizomba community here, which is originally a dance from Angola, a former colony of Portugal. So it's like there's all this dancing going on, like multiple, probably almost every day of the week. There's meetups for that. And then I am in a choir. I joined a choir in Lisbon from a Portuguese person I met at
Really?
at a piano bar. Yeah, we
That's
perform
nice.
in different places. It's really fun. Board game. There's a huge board game community in Lisbon. Pub quizzes. I talked about the running, sewing. I know people that are in a sewing circle. Improv. A lot of writing groups and watching football and or soccer together. I actually, at the end, I say, if you don't like it the first time, try again. I went to the pub quiz, and at first I wasn't sure if I would keep going, but then I started meeting other people in the different teams, and they invited me to other community groups. Like I got invited to this big Liverpool football club community. It's really fun to go and watch. I was not into soccer growing up, being American, but it's really fun. It's a big community here. So there's so much. If you're looking for it, it's here. You just have to go out and make that effort and then keep showing up, and it's really a fun community. A lot of people from a lot of different countries. I'm looking at again at these questions. Oh yeah, apostille for birth is it the raised seal? Beverly's asking. Yes. Yeah. Okay. When did it change to having an apostilled birth certificate? Oh,
Yeah, I don't really remember when, but I know that nowadays it is one of the requirements. So not only the birth, but also the marriage.
Yeah, Richard is reminding everybody older marriage certificates will need to be certified, adding more time to the apostille process. Okay.
Yeah.
It's really good if you think it's going to take, X amount of time, triple that is what I would say to give yourself that extra time and allow for somebody to be on vacation or some delays because I would be lying if I said there's not going to be delays when you're in Portugal. Like it's something for me, it was very extreme because I came from Japan where everything happens to the second. Everything is on time. And so I did cry quite a bit the first year because I was having culture shock. But one reason I moved from Japan to Portugal is because of the safety. And I can say it is definitely safe here. There's been a few minor incidents my friends have had, which usually involves like their purse getting taken, but I would just say be very cautious with that and, be mindful. But I feel very safe in Lisbon at all times of the day, and I'm very happy I still have that. But there can be delays. People are just more relaxed in Portugal, and so that's been a cultural shift that I've had to make. But I feel that I have made it now, and I think maybe the delays are made up for the fact that we don't have to tip in Portugal or almost at all. The most I've tipped is 10%, but some of my local friends have even said, don't even tip that because it's going to encourage people to like expect to be tipped. And it's just not as much of a thing here. So um, Americans coming to tip or thinking they still have to tip, you don't have to. That's another big cultural difference I found. Um, and what neighborhoods do you recommend for solo females to explore living in? Um, yeah, so I live in Alcantara and the walking here is really great. The center of Lisbon, it's even easier, even better because we don't have a metro yet in Alcantara. We're supposed to get one. We don't know when, but I would say like near the Garden of Estrella or some people like Saldana is really nice. Avenidas Novas. These are all neighborhoods in Lisbon. Avenidas Novas is right next to El Corte Inglés, which is, I think, the best department store in Lisbon, and there's only one location. So, but it's a bit pricier, but has a lot of connectivity. Santos or Santos is what it looks like when you see the word, is an up and coming area that should have a metro station opening like within the next year. And a lot of new developments have been happening around there as well. I like Campo de Arique, but it doesn't have a metro. So you are kind of on the top of a hill, but it's really walkable. It's so walkable, and they have really nice upscale things there. So I like that place too, and safe. Where to learn Portuguese before moving to Portugal? I would say preply.com is very nice, as I mentioned, if you want to get an online tutor, because you can choose that they are from Portugal, or Practice Portuguese, the app. They will quiz you every day. They make you speak. It's really a great resource. Amazon.
Also, Becky,
Okay,
just
ask. Oh, sorry. Yes, I know
oh,
we're ending
sorry, Becky,
soon,
sorry.
right?
Very quickly, because this is, I mean, I'm always practicing other languages as well, and currently I'm practicing French, and nowadays it's, I mean, I've been talking to ChatGPT. It's really. I mean, I was not aware how good it was for a simple conversation, but also it's a good option.
Okay, no, you know what? It's really funny you said that, Victor, because last night I created a Portuguese like a chat GPT bot to teach me more Portuguese. I just said teach me 10 new vocabulary words a day,
Really?
put it in a short story. I just built it last night in 10 minutes. So it's like, yes, it can really help you. It's just with speaking, I think it's we're not there yet. So,
Yeah,
but because I had that former training and like pronunciation and things, I'm hoping yeah, because I think that for us, it's often a convenience thing, right? It's like being able to have the time to sit
yeah,
down and do it. It's like ChatGPT is there for you 24/7. So that is
yeah.
something very nice. Okay, we're talking about the government websites to check the different. Oh, Amazon. I wanted
Um,
to answer Todd's question. So Amazon.es. So Portugal does not have its own Amazon, but Spain does. So I use Amazon Spain a lot. It doesn't have everything. Amazon Germany is another big one that people will try to use. And what I started doing, which changed my life, I should have put this on, I should have, okay. My building doesn't have anybody in the front of the building accepting packages, and our mailboxes are pretty small. So when I discovered this service through CTT, which is the post office in Portugal, it's called CTT. It's called Locky, Locky. You can go onto the CTT website once you have an address in Portugal and find the nearest Locky, which is like a locker system. And now I put the address of the Locky, my nearest Locky, into many of the Amazon, like the products I'm ordering from Amazon, and they will deliver it into the locker. And you have 5 days to pick it up at any time, and then I just take it, I walk it home. And it's so much better than as a single person waiting for the delivery at your house, which is between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. And you're like, like, so Locky has changed my life here in Portugal, and it's free. There's no extra charge to use that. So that's a tip that we actually wrote an article about it on Portugal.com, because a lot of what I'm writing is my own experiences. So look that up, like LockyPortugal.com. If you Google it, you'll probably find that article. So yeah, that's really been helpful. Anybody else with questions? FBI background check. Yeah, the last I heard with the FBI background check, they wanted it like less than, I think, 3 months before you
Yeah.
apply, because they want to make
Yeah.
sure within that time you haven't committed any crimes. Um, okay, and I just want to leave. Oh, can you change the slide, Victor? There's okay, the next one. Okay, so this is, if you just want more information generally about Portugal, this is our Instagram account, Portugal.com, or the website is Portugal.com. And you can contact me, Becky at Portugal.com, if you have questions or anything else that you didn't think about asking. Yeah, I can say just generally, after almost 5 years in Portugal, like I okay, I didn't mention this before, but also when I left Japan, I love Japan so much. It's such a wonderful place. I miss the food every day. However, you will never, as someone like me, someone like you, you'll never belong in Japanese society because it's so homogenous. But Portugal is such a melting pot, and the people are so, especially like I'm thinking of Lisbon and Porto, that like they're so friendly and they want to get to know you, that this was such a game changer when I moved to Portugal. I really feel much more like I belong, despite loving a lot of what Japan was offering and what it still gives to people who live there. It is a great place to also live, but this is something special about Portugal, the way it's the people. They will win you over every time. And they really, like, if I go on a city bus, the number of times I've seen people helping each other, people getting up to give people their seat, older people their seats, or pregnant women, or I mean, people have such a heart here, and they really try to help each other. And that's been such an enduring love that I have for Portugal. And also the weather, like Victor said, does really make a difference in like your productivity and your mood and everything. And I just hope that if you're feeling like you want to move from the country that you're in and you're considering Portugal, it really is still one of the best places. And it may take you some time. I think it will be worth the struggle in the end for all this paperwork and stuff. I didn't like it either, but it will be worth it. And then when you arrive and you start to get used to everything, it is such a reward at the end.
I agree 100%, Becky. And I see Portuguese people and people who live here being very welcoming, very nice. I was lucky enough to make so many good friends here. I hope, and going to that communities you've mentioned can certainly help this process of feeling that you belong here in Portugal. And I
Yeah.
cannot thank you enough, Becky, for being here and to talk to us, share your experience living here in Portugal. Thank you so much, and I encourage everyone to go to Portugal.com website website, so much information and updated information. Usually, when I see something on the news, first thing to do is just check if there is an article about it in Portugal.com, because I know that comes from someone who lives here in Portugal. So thank you a lot, and
Oh,
thank you everybody for being here.
thank you. I will say that what you're gonna find on Portugal.com is like it is more like I think from geared from expats, like for people hoping to move. So I hope that you found it useful. And yeah, we hope that we wish you all the best on your journey to Portugal, whether you're visiting or whether you decide to move. We really, yeah, hope that you love this country. Oh, and Matthew's asking about the visa process. Victor, do you offer
Thank you
help?
everybody. Oh, sorry. Yes, for sure. This is we do provide assistance for people who are applying for the visa. You can contact me through that email that I shared here, and yeah, we'll be happy to help you all, and hope to get you all here to Portugal to be our new friends.
Yeah, come on over.
Thank you.
Obrigada.
Thank you,
Have all the pastel de
everybody.
nata.
Yes, and Porto
Yeah.
wine. Thank
Porto
you.
wine. It's very good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.